Howdy, everybody. Bob Tallman for No Spin Rodeo. No politics, no BS, just hard-hitting news and rodeo commentary from two of the most trusted sources in our sport. Kendra Santos, Tommy Joe Lucia. Listen up. Here we go.
Well, hello, No Spinners. Welcome to episode 46 of No Spin Rodeo. I'm Tommy Joe Lucia, joined by Greg Teagarden and the First Lady of Pro Rodeo Journalism, Kendra Santos. This is our NFR Wrap Up show. So if you're at home and catching up on all of the live shows from the rally, and we hope to do more rallies in the future, we'd love to be at some of these big rodeos doing rallies. We want to know if you want us there. But this is our wrap-up show. And we chuckled when we said we're going to try to keep this brief. But we're going to kind of wrap up our thoughts. We're not going to rehash who won. If you're not smart enough to look that up and figure it out, then you probably shouldn't be a no spinner. But anyway, we all got home. I take it we're all home because we're all back home. I know have not unloaded. So some of you can identify with this. My wife and I load the Home Depot plastic tubs with random stuff, which I think is interesting, like a humidifier. We have a humidifier in our motel room, which significantly improves my health. Ivermectin, like all these weird things, a steamer, and then all the extra canned food so it's these tubs, which I counted them. And I hate to say this, between Donna and I, we have 11 tubs to unpack that just got out of the Piranha trailer. So do you guys do that?
No, you lost me at canned food. Tell me you don't take canned food to Vegas.
No, don't take it. We buy it there, but I'm too tight to throw the beans away when I know I've got a truck coming home. So I send the pork and beans back home.
Okay, I went with one suitcase. You can tell by seeing me every day in my jeans and a jacket. But let's see. 2.
One suitcase, that's all you took?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So, the first time I flew to Texas to work on a project with Ty Murray, and he picked me up at the airport, and I was going to be at his house for a week, and I did not check a bag. And he goes, "Okay, well, I guess I need to take you over to the bag." And I'm like, I didn't check a bag. And he goes, "Oh, my kind of girl." And I've never changed.
Low maintenance. You're low maintenance. You're a low maintenance chick.
Raised by the he-wolves. But here was our little, this time, Oat and I, the last few years, he every morning makes us eat hot water with half a lemon squeezed into it. That's been the deal. Sometimes he cuts up a clove of garlic and puts it in a spoonful of honey. That's sometimes plus. This year, he added to the lemon water this concoction of just a little powdered mix, turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon. So that's what, now I made it home and I'm healthy as a horse, and he made it back to Oklahoma and he's sick as a dog. So I don't know, but we both survived.
50-50 chance it worked. Greg, did you take any tubs? I did unload one bag of yours.
Yeah, I did. Because we got new bags while we were out there. I had one bag that I brought with me, and then I left. So I left that one because I'll be in Texas in a couple weeks to grab it. But the nice thing is that now the place that we're staying at had a nice, washer and dryer. So it was great. I could have done it with one bag.
I didn't open 3 of my tubs. Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm there for 21 days. That means I need 11 pair of underwear. So I think I can significantly reduce it with the washing machine because that changes everything. Starched pants are one of those things because you got to get them starched. So that's one of those things. But we got the cleaners by South Point. But yep. I'm pretty sure I didn't open 4 tubs. 3 or 4 tubs of stuff.
Yeah, I had half a suitcase. I didn't even pull stuff out. It was still folded, nice and packed in the suitcase when I went to go pack it.
So maybe us 2 thugs ought to learn something from the renegade up there and pack light.
Raised by the he-wolves. I did not have a washer and dryer, but when I get to I think it was day 15 of my stay, here came the last pair of clean socks, the last pair of clean underwear, the last pair of starched jeans. So, I had all the stuff. It was just down to the wire.
Oh, no. I think you rewore.
No,
I think you're
no,
not
I don't
telling
do.
us that you
I
double
no,
dipped.
no,
You
I'm not
double
bull.
dipped, and you're not telling us.
I don't do the bull rider and turn my underwear inside out. No, I do not do that.
Okay. Well, so we're all back. We're all alive. Everybody's back. I thought, and I'm going to kick it over to you, Kendra. Here's one thing that I have not recognized that I'm going to say. With the average, the way the NFR is set up, it's really well done for the fans. It's very compelling, very hard to follow if you don't know the game. That would be the negative. Kind of hard to figure it all out. But the fact that that last round for almost every discipline was so compelling is fantastic. So handing it over to you, Kendra.
Well, I have a piece of housekeeping since Oat. I came west and Oat went east, and he told me he listened to 9 of our NFR episodes on his way home, and he said, I heard you make one mistake, and this is a mistake that like I would not make in my sleep, but sleep deprivation apparently got me because he said, um, you said that Rowdy Parrott is married to Caleb Schmidt's sister. And I'm like, I did not. I would never say that. Well, he goes, no, no, you really did, and I believe him. So to correct myself and my now that I've slept a few hours, um, Rowdy and Caleb are married to sisters. There are 2 sisters married to those 2 cowboys. Rowdy's married to Lynette. Caleb's married to Brenna. They are Bylers, and their brother Will and his wife Bailey were the couple that died in the helicopter leaving their wedding a few years ago, the same day Tyler Wagespat got married. So Will, Brenna and Lynette's parents, Carrie and Bill, they were out. They're kind of like Clyde and Elsie Frost. They were in Vegas cheering other people on and cheering on their son-in-law, Rowdy Parrott. Those are lovely people. They're really nice people. Um, and we give a Will Byler buckle at Oates Junior State Wrestling, and they always show up for that. They're a really cool part of our rodeo family, but I apologize if I really said that because I know better. Anyway,
Oat didn't find anything I said offensive or wrong. Or are you just not telling me?
no, he didn't say one word, not one word against anything. And I
Whoa.
think Ode appreciates people who speak their truth and speak their minds. So
But
shooting
I
directly
bet Oat is
is,
just listening to you. He's probably not listening to me. He probably ignores me. What do you think?
well, the last time we were at the Lazy E, he did buy a silencer for his gun. So maybe he doesn't bash people. He's really good about that. He's
Oh,
really, I guess
well,
what I'm saying is he could be taking a
whew.
shot at you, but he didn't say anything. He has a silencer to shoot coyotes, folks. I don't even
Thank you.
understand this.
Thank you for clarifying that.
The last
He
time
is
I
from
was
Oklahoma.
no,
They do take things in
I
their own
know.
hands.
The last time I was in Shakota, he took me out one evening out into the pasture, and we were both in full camo, which it's against his religion to wash it. And so it's a little bit gamey. So there I am in the double X camo that's gamey, and we had to sit like in the bushes while he's doing some call that sounds like dying rabbits or something. Anyway,
Did you wear face paint?
no, but I wear something where you can barely see my eyes because it's all camo all through the
That's
whole
great.
thing.
We need a photo of that to put up if you don't mind. Okay.
Anyway, so obviously, and I agree with you, we're not going to rehash everything that happened. We got on such a roll out there, like getting to go the next morning after every round. It was so fun, and it was almost like I think for all of us, kind of a letdown that we didn't have an 11th episode that next morning, but we all needed to get home. But anyway, everybody was either there, saw it on TV, or has read something. Everybody knows basically what happened. But there are a few stories that really still stand out to me. And obviously, uh, Cassie Mowry, that was insane, riding her late fiance's horse Jarvis, horse of the year. She won 5 rounds in a row. That was insane. Um, you know, Top Gun for the person who wins the most money in a single event, which is they were like $295,500. That that was really cool. But I couldn't help but write a little bit more of the rest of the story, and I'll say it for people who maybe aren't on social media or whatever. The fact we had people, Oat and I had people around us, men, women, in front of us, behind us, off to the next aisle. Um, when everybody knew it was down to a one header between Cassie and Haley Kinsel, and when here came, you know, Haley on a Palomino mare, nobody thought anything about it. And then all these people, we can hear them saying, "Oh, sister didn't have her day." And so, for one, to be clear, that was J-Lo and not sister. And the fact that Haley Kinsel, with a gold buckle on the line, realized that morning that her horse was not feeling her best and said, "No buckle, no buckle. Will I saddle her up today and ask her for her life?" That's pretty cool.
Well, repeat the paper name of Jarvis.
Jarvis is Force the Goodbye.
I mean that.
The whole thing is just like angels, and so, or one angel named Michael Boone, whatever you want to say. But Cassie kept saying, I mean, she said to me when she was driving out there before I even left home, and she was like, "This horse, this is an indoor horse. This is a, raised at fraternity, going to the fraternities, going in little tiny coliseums. He was never meant to go outside." But this summer, when she was, she needed to keep her promise to Michael, who died June 1st, and her other horses, her normal outdoor horse couldn't go. And she had a decision, like, and so she decided, like, kind of on a lark, to ask Jarvis, throw him in the outdoor pens, and, will you, I don't expect you to do this, but if you want to do it. And he was a superstar everywhere, every condition. And she's like, "I'm telling you, I was just along for the ride. He carried me to get here. He's carried me through this whole deal. Like, I was not up for it. I didn't want to leave home. I didn't want to get out of bed. But this horse, like, rose to the occasion. But and to get there, in 27 rodeos, like, it's insane."
And Haley, when I was so impressed, so she rides a horse in the 10th round that hasn't seen the place and
Well,
sets
now that's not true, because J-Lo's been there with
this year.
Ivy Sabins. Oh yeah, not this year, you bet.
Not this year. No, I'm not saying that the horse hadn't ran in there, but
Yeah.
still hadn't had a competitive run this year, and goes in and knocks down a time that sets the bar. I mean, it was great. It was
Well,
it was it was
in
great.
every way, it
Yeah.
was great, because there's the guys who own J-Lo and Ivy Conrado. That mare has been great, and she had stifle surgery last year herself. So it's like, how this goes. Every run can be their last. For them to step up and say, "You can take her. You can go." That, any run can be any contestant's last, any horse's last. But to do that, and for Haley, knowing, and it appeared, maybe Cassie was even just a little bit conservative. She was first out, round 10. She made sure she stayed away from that first barrel, that had been a little bit of an issue a couple times in the week. And she just was like, "Okay, I'm going to get around him." And she did that. And then for Haley, it wasn't, there's all these people on social media. They're like, "Oh, Haley just gave it to her. She just wanted her," whatever. It's like, please don't say what you don't know. She
Yeah.
was honoring sister. And how many times I have heard that girl say, "I owe sister everything and she owes me nothing." And she proved it right there.
Yeah. She set her out when there's a lot of them that wouldn't do that. would not do
It's
that.
just
So
extraordinary. I mean,
extraordinary.
yeah, it was amazing. And a mention of, well, there are so many different things that still, like, for me, I think about them in the night. I think about them when I'm, driving to town, finally made it to town to get groceries. But the steer wrestlers, you hear me talk about it ad nauseum, that, they're just the best as far as truly, rooting on their rivals or whatever. But there are so many examples of that at this NFR. And, like Justin Schaefer's at his first one, him and his partner all year long, Tucker Allen, both at their first one on Justin's banker. And then about 5 rounds in, Jesse Brown, he's on Tyson. Tyson's a powerhouse. And he's got, Dirk Tavener over there hazing. Tyson and Dirk are awesome and amazing, but it was just one of those deals. There were several examples with this NFR where somebody just needed a change. And so Jesse asked, could I get on banker? And Schaefer and Tucker, I mean, technically, I mean, not only could any run be anybody's last, but you start making more runs on a horse there, and they're more likely to get tight or, give you trouble in the box or whatever. It's just, not human nature; it's horse nature. And so that they let him on. But to me, the story, okay, JD Struxness won his first world title. The story of the steer wrestling for me at this NFR was that Ty Erickson's horse Crush, which is the horse of the year this year, that horse won over $398,000 at the NFR. So he got Ty, Rowdy, and JD to the NFR. All three rode him there, and on him in 10 days, they won right under 400 grand on a horse that Ty's wife found on Facebook for $4,500. I mean, that is so, think about that. Like, Cassie won the Top Gun with 295,000. They won right at $400,000 on one horse. Like, that is just, it's extraordinary. And so, okay, a couple more little notes. I'll try not to go on for too long, but I get so excited. Okay. Coleman, okay, the all around, we knew it was super close, and Shad Mayfield led it going in, but coming down to the last round, I think we talked about it in episode 45, last episode. Like, it was so close. It was only 1,000-ish separating what Junior Nogata, Coleman Proctor, and Shad Mayfield. And my understanding is, okay, a lot of people are like, what was Coleman doing? Letting it fly like that on the last one. But I know exactly what he was doing. And it speaks also of how cool Coleman Proctor is. So if he holds his spot in the average, he wins the world all around title. But to try to get to back up a step, when after, the tour finale stuff, after Puyallup or so, must have been Logan Medlin, his partner, went home. Well, Coleman went to Pendleton and did really well with Junior Nogata, in part because Coleman, wanted to win more in the steer roping. He was trying to make the steer roping finals, but also to help his cause in the all around. So after round 9, if it would have ended, the world champion team ropers would have been Coleman Proctor from his team and Wesley Thorpe from his team. But Coleman Proctor, being who he is, he was trying to be 3-4 on their 10th steer to give his partner a chance to win a gold buckle, and he gave up the all around. Now that's the way it played out. Had he laid up and gone ahead of Shad, we'll never know. Would that have impacted what Shad did later in the rodeo? We don't know. But I'm just saying, for those people, and I've heard it too many times, once was enough. Well, what was he doing? Letting his rope, he's so stupid. No, he's not stupid. He's cool as hell. So,
Yeah,
that.
he called his partner and said, just so you know, we're open for the win. He made it real clear. He goes, and he put that out there before, like straight up, I want my partner to join me. So if you're not a big rodeo guy, like she said, the team roping could have been split. A different healer winning because of money they won. And we talked about this earlier. It's interesting that, one had won a little more money than the other partner, even though they were partners most of the year. And the fact that he gunned it. And there's something to be said for that's the right attitude. We've said this 100 times, the Ty Murray. Don't ask me if I'm taking the reride. That's a stupid question. It's that same champion mentality, and that will serve Coleman well in the future.
Well, and on the flip of that, the not taking the reride has served our 2024 world champion bull rider, Josh Frost, amazingly well in the last few years. But even tough Hedeman, like whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago or whatever, people were just ripping him for not taking a reride. And then when it was all said and done, he had won a fortune. And there was a case, this week. But I mean, do not call somebody stupid when they're rides ahead of everybody else in the average. I mean, stop. That's just silliness. So,
and I'm not saying that that's a businessman's decision, but there is a mentality, I think, that Ty leans to, and that is, I've got to expect my next competition to be the best, right? And you have to go for it too. And again, they made the absolute. There's been times when I've said, "What are you doing?" To Ty, right? By the way, in person.
Remember what year was it that when Daryl Mills? Remember when Daryl Mills won the world? There was something about, or when Ty won the world and beat Daryl Mills by $2 or something. There was, I'd have to go back because it's so many years ago. It's decades ago. But there was something where everybody was like, "Oh, Ty's so stupid. He threw away a score." And then that was the difference for a world title. So anyway, and I'll say, my first NFR was 1987. And one of my, most memorable joys was seeing my friend Lane Frost win his world championship. And after all these years, Clyde Nelsey's sitting there behind those buck and shoots, cheering for everybody else, to now see, another Frost win it. It really touched me. And when brother Joe came down there, pushing a stroller with a baby girl and two others in his arms, because he's an incredible dad. But that championship was for Joe and Josh. I mean, they really, it was, there's no reason other than fate that Joe didn't win a world title before, fate stepped in and said, you're done, right? You're right here in your prime. You're just getting warmed up and you're done because for medical reasons. But gosh, he took that like a man, and he was so happy for his little brother. It was really, really cool. And remember too, they have another brother, and he's the one that almost got killed in a car wreck going to Pendleton a couple years ago. So here he comes, and but I'm really happy for the Frost family.
Yeah, I will shout out. So all you Texans, Rodeo Texas, Rodeo Oklahoma, you may want to look across your dashboard and take a look at Rodeo Utah. Rough stock, all the riding events, Utah World Champions. You can look through the top leaderboard of every discipline and see Utah. We're training them in Utah, starting them young. Utah is a real power in rodeo and should get the credit. I mean, 3 gold buckles in the rough stock events, all to Utah. That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Well, so, and it's going to be like a lot of things in rodeo are going to be completely different in 2025 with Stetson right back. Speaking
Absolutely.
of Utah. And, whether or not other guys will even, enter a second event, it remains to be seen. It will also be, different with Kai Hamilton going to the PBR. And hopefully we haven't seen the last of him in the PRCA. But another thing I would like to mention before we move along is that I'm such a nerd that we stay and watch them run the extras every night. And for that Joel Harris ran the extras last year, and that he was there roping for the first time this year was really cool. And we can't leave out the little buckskin horse, Logan Bird's Peso from Canada. I know we mentioned him earlier in the week and all that kind of stuff, but before it was over, both brothers, Joel and Ty Harris, were riding him, and also Tuff Cooper, who was at his 16th NFR, got on him, because that horse in that building is just money in the bank, and just a great little horse for a very long time. So, I don't know. You have to stop me.
Well, for the no spinners that aren't knee deep into rodeo, there's an all around title. That's the cowboy that wins the most money on multiple disciplines, right? 2 or more events. And just to put this in perspective, because this is $335,000 and it was won by $675. That's like 0.002%. Like, and by the way, when Shad roped that ducking off to the left little calf that most people would have waved off and looked back at the judges and said, this isn't fair. When he put it on him, that gave him that buckle. And we talked about it. I mean, that's just coolness. That's cool.
Yeah, and cool. I thought it was really very mature for Shad to be, as he and his also in his corner there, Fred Whitfield, were saying, we're here to play the long game. And it was very mature, because he didn't panic. It would have been really easy to panic the way things were going with Riley Webb, because Riley Webb had nothing to lose and was in a zone. And so that would have shaken, plenty of people, but it did not rattle Shad Mayfield. And just for fun, let's mention who ran the extras this year to see if maybe next year, because this year, Kyle Lucas from Canada ran the extra calves. Mason Couch ran the extra steer wrestling steers with Riley Duval over there on the hazing side. And Corey Kidd and Nikki Northcott ran the extras in the team roping. And Nikki Northcott just turned 18 years old. He's a 1996 world champion team roper, Steve Northcott's son. He looks exactly like him, if cloning's possible. Watching him run the extras, he's ready, and he's 18 years old. And his dad texted me a day or two ago and said that he was going to be seen roping with Clay Tryon here for a little bit. So anyway, I mean, he's 18.
Now, who decides who gets to run the extra?
I was just going to say that.
Oh, sorry, Greg.
Well,
that's okay.
I think that it's my understanding. It's the event rep, and he polls his constituents in each event. Obviously it's an important job, because you want somebody to even up the runs on the cattle, and so if somebody goes out there and misses, it doesn't do much to keep things fair, which is the whole point of having the extras if something happens. And there are so many. I mean, this, it just brings something up that's pretty random, but do you remember the thing that happened in the rodeo where Dakota Eldridge? It all happened so fast, but something happened where I think he thought he got a bad gate, but he didn't put his hand up soon enough or something. There's all these different things that just happen so fast. And I mean, there are so many little things that happen throughout that week that can happen in a blink that might be the difference for a world title. It's just every year it's like that. But I do think that the event reps, pick people and want people to be, very capable, and, they get paid, but they also, by the way, they get fined. If they do something that's against code, they do get fined.
Everybody gets fined. Well, I get tired of hearing this. How many times have we heard on the social channels, oh, the NFR's moving. The NFR's moving. It's going to go here. I heard it's going to go there. I just want to recap a few numbers. to solidify the point that I said the NFR will never leave Las Vegas, because I think these are interesting numbers. Over 10 performances this year, they sold 170,000 tickets, up from 157,000 in 2023. However, remember there was a performance that didn't happen. So those aren't fair numbers. There was a slack performance. So those numbers, that 23 numbers is less one performance. However, in 39 years, the Thomas and Mack Center has seen 6.6 million rodeo fans watch that rodeo. I'm not done. The gift show. Everybody knows the official gift show. We were there in Cowboy Commons. We rode a mammoth there. We were there. 310,000 people went through there between the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. You know, they have a hunting show that's a combo show with it. In the last 38 years, anybody want to take a guess how many shoppers have went through there? Greg?
14 million.
Oh, you're boisterous. What do you think, Kendra? 5.8 million people. That's a lot of handbags sold.
You know what's awesome about that on the girl who took one bag? I had not done one moment's shopping, and when we got done with Rodeo Deep Dive show at 1:30 on the day of round 10, Oat said, "You've got 20 minutes and you can go to one booth because the train's leaving and we're going to go have our only meal of the day."
Remember,
so
he's
I
got
did.
a silencer, so hey.
I did it, and I got it done in 5 minutes. I went to one vendor and I bought a few things for grandbabies out. So,
well, here's another, this is kind of off, but so I'm not a TikToker, you know, China and all that, but this is an interesting phenomenon that I don't want to get into, but I think is really interesting. So some of my secret agents send me stuff. They sent me this TikTok link of this young man who sounded very feminine, who's evidently an influencer and a fashion dude. And he went on, and he probably has billions of followers. He went on and was talking. He came to the NFR, as did a lot of fashion influencers. These are people that make a living, you know, having people watch their TikToks or whatever, just to peruse the outfits of the rodeo clan. Probably not yours, since you rewore some of them. But anyway, and this guy was like, "Yeah, I'm not." There's a lot of hats and plaids and jeans and on, and he just got. Evidently, the rodeo crowd just pummeled this poor guy. And at the end, he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. You wear whatever the hell you want to wear." So I thought that was pretty good. It's very interesting to think that people outside the world are coming there to figure out Western fashion and to report on it, that have never put a cowboy hat on or cowboy boots, probably never will. And when you look out there, we all see the wannabes, right? The wannabe cowboys, which we're glad that they're there. We're glad the wanna girls are there. We're glad all of them are there. And then you've got the authentics, the bégayes, the people that we wear our stuff all the time. But I thought it was interesting, 110 concerts in 2 weeks. Wow, that's a lot of, I thought that was and there were 32 hotels playing the NFR feed. And there was the all-in barrel race and breakaway. I mean, this is truly the culmination, right? This thing's turned into the World Series, you know, $14 or $18 million. I mean, $320,000 to the winning roper, and 12 holes down, they're getting 30. I mean, and for Bumgardner to say that that's the biggest event that hits South Point. Now we're talking about Run for a Million, huge equestrian events. So it's just that place, Vegas is going to house, that's going to be there. You might as well go ahead and get your tickets because it ain't going anywhere. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
There's horse trailers all the way down to the next exit on the south side of that South Point. It's just amazing how many team ropers show up for that.
Well, and I think there's
Also,
10,000 temporary stalls that they put up. Michael Gahn owns all that ground, and he just lets them put up. I mean, we go there at 10:30 at night coming home, and there's 3 little light towers up, and they're breakaway roping in the middle of the desert next to I-15 for something. It's great.
and to
It's great.
remember that when it moved to town 40 years ago in 1985, Vegas was a ghost town in December, which is a big part of why they wanted it there. And
Brilliant.
now to what it is now, beyond. Benny Binion.
Yep. Now, I did watch something interesting on the local news, and they were kind of surveying the locals. And there are some locals that don't like the Cowboys to come to town, which amazes me because when I talk to service staff and stuff, they love the Cowboys and Cowgirls because they tip well. But there were some outcriers out there that were like, nope, least favorite convention, least favorite people. And who knows why, but I thought that was interesting that there was some of that. There's always someone on both sides of the fence. But hey, Vegas, we're staying here. We're going to be here for a while, so get used to it. Kendra, any other, I only had as a wrap up. So we talked about the replay system, the review system. And I thought it was well done for the PRCA. We've said this is very conservative. They're going to bite off small chunks, make sure it works, and, there's things like not reviewing a slap or an 8-second ride that I just can't wrap my head around. But overall, they reverse some calls. But here's the one thing that I want to comment on that I think should be commented on. I had this conversation with Billy Etbauer. When you miss a horse out and they throw a flag, you get a 0. So, spinners, that's where you have to have your feet up over the shoulders of the horse, the first jump out. Typically, it'll be 2. And that puts you at a disadvantage. It gives the horse the advantage. You got to catch up with timing. It's your weakest position in the saddle. And you got to be a real cowboy to mark a horse out, especially some of these rank pin horses that were out there. And from Billy, who was on our show, his point of view, it should be a 0 because that is a cowboy thing. However, when it's a 0, that puts you out of the average. Remember we talked about the aggregate, right? That significantly changes. I mean, Ryder had to, the things that now you can count on someone else getting thrown off later on, all of those things we talked about, which I think it's amazing. But here's my point. The field judges out there at the NFR, they threw a mark out flag on right the first thing, which it kind of happens. And then they reeled those flags in, I thought, because I saw several instances that I think guys missed. Now, this is armchair quarterbacking. I'm not encouraging that. But if you're going to throw the flag on one guy, then that's the problem I have with it being a disqualification. Here's my point on this. I'm going to try to slow down. Those field judges should have felt empowered to throw the markout flag. Why? Because the review judges would review it, and if they got it wrong, they corrected it. But if they didn't throw the flag, right? If they didn't throw the flag, it didn't matter if the replay judges saw that he missed them out. The field judges have to instigate that. So I think that the field judges need to be empowered, right? They should have, if there was the least inclination that he missed them out, they should have thrown the flag and been comfortable with the fact that this is being reviewed in real time on video, both sides of the chutes. We're going to get it right. So not throwing the flag when it was close or you didn't know for sure, that doesn't work for me. I think those field judges should have been empowered. They should have thrown flags, and maybe they did. But I think if there was ever a point in their mind where, I would have thrown the flag, right? Where normally at a rodeo, you keep it in your pocket, right? You want to give the benefit to the rider. Well, if they're looking at this stuff and it could cost a buckle going to another guy, the judges should, instead of being embarrassed that they're being reviewed, they should have been empowered. So there, I'm off my soapbox. But when you're taking a complete score away from a guy that wrote a rank one based on a couple inches of where their spur was and something you're seeing in 1.5 seconds. Sorry, got on my soapbox.
It's all good.
No?
And on the bronc riding, I think it's worthy of note because a minimum, seriously, of 18 people have asked me why Logan Hay, they announced him as 89.5 points on his last one. And for one thing, he was supposed to be on Calgary's Birch Bubbles, but he couldn't get out on him. So he took a re-ride, which was also a Calgary horse, Exotic Warrior. He makes this amazing ride. They say 89.5. And then I don't know because I haven't watched the telecast, but so many people today even are still messaging me and saying, why was Logan Hayes 89.5 taken off the board in round 10? And the way it was explained to me is that it was something about having two hands. I don't know if his two hands were on the rein. I don't know if it was he had one hand on the front of their saddle, as they sometimes do. Somehow, some way, when he broke the plane of the chute, he had two hands down, and I don't know if somebody at that moment threw the flag. I don't know because it all happened so fast, but I know that they announced 89.5, and I know he was 0, and they said it was because he had two hands down at the start of the ride. So I think that's worthy of mentioning because so many people are still asking me. And I think another thing that's really worthy of mentioning is that last year we had fun this year with, the mule in the grand entry and the Grinch in the grand entry. Last year, do you remember that there was a pirate? And
Yep.
the pirate was Hayes Waite. Well, no one ever says anything about round 10 because they do the victory laps, about go rounds in round 10 because they do the victory laps on the average. Hayes Waite was the only guy who made the whistle in round 10, and he won $108,668 on one ride, and 108 of the 164. So he wasn't having a great NFR. 108 of the 164 he won at the finals was on his round 10 bull, which made him the reserve world champion. That's kind of big. And by the way,
Wow.
we're back in Utah with last year's pirate Hayes Waite.
Well, no, I have a question. Do they give you, does it come from the PRCA? Do they give you sheets as a media rep that the what ifs? Because I've got one more soapbox to climb on. But do they give you what ifs? Because it looks like everybody out there, all of the talk show hosts, and there's a bunch of them, Ask Flint, all of the different, people that are out there, they're all doing their own math, right, on all of these things. I did some of my own math. But, as we grow into a multi-million-dollar sport, stats matter. And these things can be figured out. Greg, you brought it up.
Yeah.
What? Give us an example.
So during the broadcast, when we're watching the bareback riding, at the end, they kind of were like, "Well, we're not really sure," and I can understand. I mean, I can understand that it's close, but there should be a pretty definitive answer at that point. I don't know what.
There's not an excuse for not. There's spreadsheets, guys. There's ways to do this that you plug in the final score on the final ride. There's not really a good excuse, right, for not being able to say who won. Now, there was some drama because we're all at commercials going, well, I wonder if they disqualified someone, or I wonder, because you kind of never really. I mean, Logan's a good example of that. Now, the thing about that is they did, because it was called, they did review it. So I think, whatever it is, I think it was freehand, not clear. Whatever it was reviewed. And I think that there's a really strong chance that really happened, right? Because it was reviewed.
Right.
The ones I have a problem with are the ones that happened that were reviewed, but the review didn't matter because the field judges didn't flag it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you, Greg.
It's interesting too. Like, do they do it? You know how they're obviously very anxious to get everybody back into the casinos every night. You know, that's a given. And but on the last night, you know, there is a question mark as to why they make the decision to try to, why don't they say right then and there, why don't they bring the world champion for a victory lap? They make everybody wait till the rodeo's over, and a lot of people have left to go get in the cab line. I'm not sure, what the train of thought is on, why it's different on round 10, why they want people to stay. I'm not sure.
Well, I do feel the speed does affect, like when you're watching it on TV, because they're so fast. Like you brought up the the score that got taken away. I mean, it was basically, oh yeah, he got a 0, and then they went to break, and there was nothing ever brought up behind it, or
Well,
they never got back to it.
They buck horses. They buck horses before the score in their Super Bowl is announced from the previous rider.
Yeah,
like there's too fast.
It's too fast.
Remember, everybody that's here is following the sport.
And
right?
I mean, 10 more minutes is not going to, I mean, in Vegas terms, it's probably millions of dollars in the casinos, but
Yeah, I just think I'm with you. I remember watching it, Kendra and Greg, and thinking I would probably figure out how to crown the world champion to put a button on that event discipline, right? I think. But again, it's still good. Again, I'm not overall fantastic event. Being critical on a few things, but it is, come on, we're talking about millions of dollars now. Like this isn't, it can't be, well, I didn't get the mark out, but in the rodeo season, I probably got it when I shouldn't have. No. This is the Super Bowl. Time to pull up our boots.
Yeah, and the story was very compelling, though. The whole round 10 was very compelling. Every ride, every run mattered. So I felt like that was a great, it was good watching.
It was great.
Before we have to mention too, because I think it's pretty cool that glorious horse of Tomas Garcilaso's Hollywood was retired during the NFR.
Yes.
And he deserves a standing ovation. And I mean, I remember years ago being in, I think it was Spanish Fork, Utah, because I went there with John Growney to get Lane Frost was inducted, and maybe Red Rock too. And we went there to accept that for the Frost family. And I point blank asked him, I'm like, okay, is that mane real? And he took me and he showed me, he goes, Kendra, I promise you. And I'm like, okay, what do you do? And he's like, no, this is his natural genetics. And I'm like, I've never seen anything else quite like that. So pretty cool.
Absolutely gorgeous animal. And the fact, it is also cool on that same note that Tomas's son performed in that arena. And that's kind of what we talk about our culture is, right? If you look at the stuff that happens at our Super Bowl, it's because we are real, right? When we recognize service members and take a performance to recognize the people we've lost. While we throw around in this show, we throw around all the stuff that needs to get better. We have got a badass culture and sport, and America needs more of what we are about. And as long as we don't change our ways, I'm still going to open doors for women. I don't care if the woman doesn't like it. I've been saying yes, sir, and no, ma'am to people since I could talk, and that's not going to change. And Godspeed that our culture that fears God. Look at how many people gave credit to Jesus for winning. Like we've got great people. That's why we do what we do for not as much money as we should get. But wouldn't you both agree? I'd love to hear, even Greg, who was completely outside of this in 15 years ago. I brought him into it. But we're a cool bunch of people with a cool Super Bowl.
Well, clearly,
yes,
there are a lot of ways to make a lot more money than rodeoing. That's for sure. So for the love of the game thing is certainly for real. I mean, I'm proud of us too. And I have also, since I busted your chops the other day for saying that the little lady couldn't go shopping without your credit card, and I corrected you on that, I will also say I agree with you. I applaud you for opening doors for women. I've never known a woman who didn't appreciate it. I love it when Oat or one of my sons or whomever opens the door for me. And I open the door for my elders, men and women, and it's courteous. And I love that my sons, because they learned it from my father, who was a cowboy, when they meet a woman, they take their hat off when they meet a woman. When we're in an elevator, Oat every single time takes his hat off in the elevator as a matter of
Oh,
courtesy.
I didn't know.
It's
Oh,
polite. I didn't know
I've
about
never
it till
done
him
that.
either.
I've never taken my hat off. I didn't know that. I'm always the last to leave the elevator, but I never thought about removing my hat. Wow, Oat.
Well, the other one that my dad taught my sons, and that they do, and Oat does it also because his mom, Mary Lou, taught him too, is when you're walking down the road, walking down the street, the man always gets on the outside,
Street side, yeah.
street side. So
Yeah.
from back in the olden days, or to make sure if a car drives by, or back then a horse, that the splash will be stopped by the man before it hits the woman. I think that's lovely. I mean, every woman wants that's a sign of respect to me.
Chivalry, yeah.
It's
Yes.
respect. That's
Chivalry is
exactly.
lovely. It's a wonderful thing, and it should not be lost. And I think cowboys are pretty darn good at it. Maybe not at the beer stand every time, but if she's there, she can take her. She can, she's choosing. So
There's dark sides of cowboys and cowgirls. There's a bunch of people out there shopping for more than handbags. So that's okay. Maybe there's no telling what all was swapped in Vegas, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So, but just to recap, we are blessed. I am blessed with three families, my family, my personal family, my piranha family, and my rodeo family. And I think a lot of us feel that way. We live and breathe in an industry that's real, that people cry and hug. And how many times do we show up to a rodeo arena? Greg has learned this. You show up, you see somebody you haven't seen in a few weeks, you visit about it. Oh, where'd you go? And if you need anything, if any one of us needs anything, we have way more people we can call than if we weren't in this business. I'll put it that way.
it's
And they'll
true,
show up.
yes, and these people become friends for life. This year, every year it's different, but every year where Out and I sit, there's a contestant's family right with us. And last year it was Luke Brown, the Team Rippers family, and this year it was bareback rider Taylor Broussard's family. And I sat. Oat sits on the aisle because his left legs needs to go out in the aisle, and I sat between him and Taylor Broussard's cousin Brock. And what an amazing guy. I mean, he fought off a brain tumor, and it just a wonderful person. And now if I ever see, I mean, I hope I see him again. And Brock's or Taylor Broussard's parents sat right behind Oat and I. What cool people. And we ended up visiting throughout the, perf every night, and it's just, and so forever those people will be our friends. It's really, rodeo is amazing like that, and we're so proud of the people, the things people do in our rodeo family. Like, it makes me personally proud, profession aside. Like, these are our people, and it's a of course there's one in every crowd, but as a rule, real deal cowboy people are just extraordinary.
Well, hats off to the Las Vegas events. Hats off to Alan Reinheimer and all of the production team at the NFR. Hats off to the PRCA, Mr. Glaus, Mr. Woody, everybody down through the staff that worked with our staff. Hats off. Amazing, great job, great event. We're coming on Christmas. I think I'll kick this off. Behold, a child is born. everybody Merry Christmas. Try to remember what Christmas is about. Maybe even pop open one of those books and read the story to help remind us what Christmas is all about. Hug and love each other. We love you for listening to us. I'm going to kick it over to Greg and Kendra to sign us off. But from my point of view, Merry Christmas. Be safe. Be blessed. Hug the people you love, because we don't know when our expiration dates are. Greg?
I just want to thank everybody for a great year listening to us, all your feedback, and everybody who watched us during the last week at the NFR. Just everyone, just take the next couple weeks, enjoy your family, enjoy the time you have, enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody, and let's start off a new year great.
I have one question before I tell everybody Merry Christmas. And this is to my rodeo family and to you guys, to anyone who has a solution. How am I in 2025? You know, Miss Charlie girl, my grand girl, is like, well, we made our first batch of cookies together yesterday, and
Yeah.
she
Love
nipped
making
into
Christmas
the
cookies.
she nipped into the dough. That's my girl. But how Kendra is going to navigate having a baby in California and a baby in Texas. How is KK going to do that? I frequent flyer miles are one thing, but I'm going to look for like, beam me
You're not going to
in
be home
because,
much.
oh my goodness. Anyway, it's so amazing. And we are so blessed and grateful for it. So Merry Christmas, one and all, because I mean, I wouldn't trade our rodeo family for anything.
Well, I'll give you the answer. It's called FaceTime. That is worth it. You will sit and FaceTime and get a little bit of a dose. You might want to hug them and kiss them, but FaceTime is a good alternative for all of us that travel. Trust me, my Ash man FaceTimes me all the time, and just to play with him, he sets me in the wagon. Like I'm just here FaceTiming, looking in the sky while we go on a wagon ride. So that's how you're going to have to do it, Kendra. When you're not with one, you're FaceTiming the other, sister.
Fair enough. I'll do it.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, No Spinners. Thanks for being a part of our team and a part of our family. Be blessed. Have a great and fantastically safe holiday season. God bless all of you.